Welcome to UNAM Chicago's CAFÉ EXPRESSO, a space for bilateral conversations with people from all walks of life. Tune in to Spanish Public Radio and follow us on social media. And now your host, Alberto Foncerrada.
Welcome everyone to another edition of Café Expresso. My name is Alberto Foncerrada and I am your host. We just listened to a brief extract of a piece that my guest played for us. And I'm really happy to welcome Donald Moline. How are you, Donald?
I'm fine, thank you. You can just call me Don if you like.
Absolutely, thank you, Don. Don, thank you for being here. Don is, as it says in our poster, is an accomplished musician, a Grammy Award winner musician who had 39 years as a member of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, and he has performed in virtually every corner of the globe with many of the world's greatest conductors and musicians. How did all this love for music come about, Don? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, you know, it was one of those things where people would ask me early on, are you going to become a musician? They really don't, they're not paid very well. And it's a hard life. You have to work very hard to be a good musician. And but I've known that that's what I wanted to do ever since I was 12 years old. And I don't really know very many people, especially in these days, who know what they want to be when they're 12 years old. It's pretty unusual. It's almost as if I had no other choice. It was prodding me to become a musician, and I just loved it so much that there was very little else that I wanted to do except study and play music. Luckily, my parents recognized this early on, and they hooked me up with some great teachers throughout my school. And then when I went to college, I studied with some really great teachers. I grew up in Texas, which in those days was not the culturally enriched musical mecca that it is today. I grew up listening to the Dallas Symphony Orchestra, which is quite a good orchestra, but I knew that there were better orchestras perhaps throughout the world, and I wanted to hear what they could do as well. So I left college as soon as I left for college as soon as I could at the age of 19 and went to the East Coast to study at a really good professional music school.
Was there anybody else in the family that?
No, oddly enough, I grew up listening and participating in church music, actually. My father sang in the choir, and we all did, in fact. And I even played a bell carillon in the church where I grew up. But there was no real exposure to great music until I entered high school. And then I started attending summer music camps notably at TCU, Texas Christian University in Fort Worth, where I was born. And that lit the fire, so to speak. And so I was able to get a full tuition scholarship to go east to study cello with one of the best teachers at Juilliard. This was at Hart College of Music in Connecticut. And then I later went to graduate school and earned an assistantship. So actually I had 7 years of college and I never had to pay for any of it myself.
Okay.
So
I know that well, I know that you have taught in the U.S. Peace Corps in Africa in several universities, including the University of Tulsa, Indiana, the University of Wisconsin, and Northwestern University. What is the most gratifying thing about teaching? How do you find this?
that's easy for me to answer because I always prepare before lessons at least as much as the student himself or herself prepares. And I always give them the assignments at the lesson, and I never watch the clock. I always give them extra time, and sometimes I'll give them more than 2 hours of my time if they're really clicking on. But I love to teach, and the thing that is so gratifying to me is seeing that light bulb go on behind their eyes when they really get it, so to speak, and they understand how to do it. Fortunately, I'm patient enough to wait for that light bulb to go on, but it almost always does. And that's something that is extremely exciting for me.
Oh, I bet. I grew up. My sister's a musician. She plays the flute, and everybody loves music in my family. So it just enlightens the room. So it's a beautiful experience.
Yes, it is a beautiful experience, and it's something that transcends nationalities and languages and everything else. I'm current, because of the pandemic, I'm currently teaching on Zoom, and I have students who play for me every week from Tokyo, from Mexico, and from Chicago. So it's a wide variety of students. I lived in Japan for 5 years in Tokyo, and I had an extremely large teaching class there. I think I had about 15 students, which is even more than a full-time load for a full-time college professor teaching. But it was fun. We actually had a cello orchestra and played pieces together, arrangements of pieces, and it was a lot of fun. And most of these students spoke at least some English
Okay.
and learned Japanese. So it was, we could communicate. And that part was a lot of fun as well.
I bet it was. And that's great that you're adapting to these new challenges, these new times. I mean, the other day I was talking with my the director of our university here in Chicago, and we have a beautiful place where we have where we showcase art exhibits and concerts and all that in downtown Chicago. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, where everybody's working from home, but we have been able to reach incredible audiences with through this, you know, this new virtual reality. I mean, it's not the same to be in the, you know, in the forum, especially as a musician. I'm sure you miss the kind of like the
It has
everything.
yes, definitely.
But the reach is pretty high. I mean, you can reach a lot of people, right?
Oh, indeed, yes, from all over the world. And depending on whether or not they have a good, clear internet connection, usually I can diagnose what's wrong from thousands of miles away and help them.
Wow, technology. Well, for those of you who just logged in through our UNAM Chicago's YouTube channel and Facebook page, or who tuned in through Spanish Public Radio, I am your host, Alberto Foncerrada, and you're watching and listening Café Expresso. I am having a conversation with Donald Moline, a cello player, an accomplished cello player who has won a Grammy. Don, we were talking about teaching, and I know that you spend part of your summers in, or the more your winters, right, in Mexico, in Puerto Vallarta, right?
Yes, that's right.
Uh,
It
mhm.
began really as a vacation in warm weather, because Chicago has terrible weather in the wintertime.
Everybody complains.
And this winter was particularly awful. We had 3 feet of snow and sub-zero temperatures for long periods of time. And so eventually it reaches a point where you say, I'm getting out of here. So I decided to go south, and I had some friends whose advice I sought out about where to go. And they said, well, if you really want to go to a wonderful, beautiful city where they have music and a great climate, go to Puerto Vallarta. So we did. And luckily, one of my friends had a dinner party, and he invited me to his home. He is an amateur chef, but a really wonderful chef. And he cooked dinner and invited virtually every professional musician in the city of Puerto Vallarta to his home, where he introduced me to all of his friends, musical friends.
Okay.
And that's how it got started. It's not a large community of musicians, but it is a closely knit community. So every musician knows just about every other musician in the city. And I got to know them very quickly because I was eager to play with them and perform with them. So I have played four fundraising concerts for benefiting the Children's Music School in Puerto Vallarta, which is known as the Instituto de Artes Musicales, IAMPV.
Exactly, which I love the logo and the IAMPV. It's a beautiful thing. That's where you met Daniel Ontiveros. Is that correct? That's the director of the
Right.
orchestra.
Right, and I hope you will invite him as one of your guests.
Absolutely.
Because not only is he extremely likable, but he's very articulate in both languages, and he's a good man. He's a very hardworking man. He's married. He has 2 small children, and he works his fingers to the bone practically.
The work he has done, because I've talked to him before, it's just breathtaking. The talent and just the devotion. But you guys planted the seed in this, the fundraising, especially when we were talking about the pandemic and these hard times. Must be incredibly difficult and challenging for the kids and the families to be in this pandemic, in that surrounding, and being far away from from other kids, but the work we see, and we're going to show a little bit of a clip from the Salty Paw jazz ensemble. That's one of the expressions, but there's also the orchestra itself, and it's really, really amazing the work you do. I know that we have here we're gonna show our website where people can go and just find out more about the incredible work you guys are doing. I know that's a group of Americans and Canadians getting together and accomplishing a lot of things for these underserved kids and youngsters.
Yes. A lot of these children, especially up north of the city, are street children. Actually, they just roam the streets practically, and they don't have anything to do with their time. But we have found that if you give a child a violin and a hot meal and some instruction, he's yours for life. They are hooked for life on classical music. We teach them how to hold the instruments, and if you saw the looks on their faces when you hand them a violin or a cello or a trumpet or whatever it is, it is priceless. These kids are just so appreciative. Absolutely. And they are enthralled with what is going on in the school. The school itself makes its headquarters in the University of Guadalajara, their school of cuisine, cooking school. So up until noon every day, it's a cooking school, but then after noon, it becomes a music school. And that's where they keep their instruments, and some of these instruments are huge. But we're very grateful to the University of Guadalajara for providing this venue for us to and perform.
Absolutely. Are you planning on going once the pandemic?
Oh yes, yeah. I've had my vaccinations already, so
I'm all good for you.
Set to go next winter and play more concerts and see my friends again. And but the city of Puerto Vallarta is growing rapidly. No longer is it a sleepy little village of cobblestone streets and a creaky old cathedral where Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton had their big fling.
The night of Tijuana.
Right. She was not in the movie, incidentally. It was Ava Gardner, I believe. But she just hung around because of him. And
to that resort, it's beautiful, yeah.
Yeah. And it's still a beautiful city, but it is growing. It's changing as such, so that I hope that someday in the not too distant future, they will build a real concert hall of some kind that will house, a couple of thousand people, so that we can have concerts downtown for all of the tourists who come through. And that would be fun to do. So I'm looking through my crystal ball into the future to see all of that.
Absolutely. That sounds amazing. Dan, thank you so much for this. I know that we're going to put the website for IAMPV and also your website. I want people to get to know you better. So thank you so much for the time that you gave me. And I will have Daniel Ontiveros in this program one day. And hopefully I'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. Take care and have a good day.
Thank you. And that's all for us. My name is Alberto Foncerrada, and I'm your host of Café Express. We'll see you in another edition. Until then, goodbye.